Hello and welcome to RPG Research. I'm Hawk Robinson, President and Founder. This is our October 17th, 2020 weekly electronic role-playing game developers meeting every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon Pacific time now. You can learn more about this particular project that we're working on, electronic role-playing game, multiplayer, turn-based, online, that's meant to be accessible, including brain-computer interface accessibility at bcirpg.com. Zach was here but had to split because work called him in, but let's go ahead and Valerie take over from here.
I'm Valerie, team lead. We're going to run through attendance here. So Tim?
Here.
Trevor?
Present.
Luke?
Here.
Doug?
Here.
Nick G?
Here.
And that's everyone we have in right now.
Okay.
So for today we had, I assume we're still planning on doing the multiplayer version of the book training. I'm going to say yes. So we had one discussion to do before that, and then we were going to hop in. So we're going to look at wireframing software since we are maybe going to be doing some basic wireframing with what kind of the decisions we make today.
Good.
Has everyone had a chance to kind of look over the docs that I shared with you guys? I'll repost them in chat.
Thank you.
I was able to take a look at them all.
I was able to click on them and load them, but I didn't have time to look at them because I've been working on the book.
I have not looked at them yet either.
Okay. I will post links. There are two. There's one that is just like Google Docs, and then there's one that's a spreadsheet. So that first link is to the docs, and I'm pulling up the spreadsheet now. So it would probably, it might be more helpful for you guys to view the spreadsheet rather than the doc, since the doc is just a big paragraph thing, and the spreadsheet actually, it has all the same information. It's just a little bit easier to see how the information relates to the other ones. I'll be looking in the docs since some of you guys left notes in there. So our main options, we have 8 that I looked at. Some of these I have already kind of put a no on, but I put notes into them just so that we would know that we had looked at them. So we have Wireflow, Envision, Mockflow, Mockups, Fluid UI, and Draw.io. So starting with Wireflow, license is compatible. It has real-time collaboration. It works with Screen UI, but I don't know that they have code wireframes. It's mostly just like, here's a mock-up of how your screen would look and interact with other screens. It exports just into JPEG. There's no limit to number of users. In terms of limitations, it gives you like 113, I can't even think of the word. They give you like templates, 113 templates that you can start off of. So if they don't have a template that kind of matches with what we're trying to do, that might be an issue. It is free and it links into GitHub. So our biggest hang up on this would be that it doesn't have wireframe that's geared towards coding. So we had comments in the docs that, so Luke, you said that it seemed okay, but the text was hard to read at times, and you didn't really like the workflow.
Yeah, it works, but it's just like, eh.
Okay, and then Dario said that he liked Wireflow since it was one of the few ones that had only one version, which was free, so we would get full functionality. He said that he wasn't sure how much value we'd get in phase 2 if we paid for any of the other ones. So Wireflow is his vote, but I also don't have notes on any of the other ones from him. So I would suggest you guys open up the link that's in the sheet on that and just kind of take a look, see how you feel about it. Yeah, it's the only issues that I really see with it is that it's UI only, and it might limit our flows based on project type, but we'd have to actually start working in it to know if that's for sure. Just like a preliminary look, does anyone else have notes on Wireflow?
Is there any kind of interactivity to it? I mean, it looks like there's like a map of connected JPEGs. But can you create anything that allows you to kind of explore moving between different UIs?
I don't see anything that says it has that. It mostly just looks like it's really basic stuff. I'm reading through their tools and stuff. It kind of looks like it's just an arrangement thing.
Well, I think this won't work for simply because can you make your own flows?
I think probably you have to start with a template, but then you can adjust from there. But I didn't like make an account and play around with it. So I assume that you would have some amount of wiggle room in what you're able to do, but they want you to start with a template, which is what's going to be an issue. You know what? It looks like you can't really adjust templates that much, so we're gonna have to nix this one. So second we had was Lucid Chart, which its licensing was unclear for the free version. It has the collaboration features it has is it people can view your project. Yes.
It I mean, you're right. They don't make it easy to find the license. So from what I can tell, it's a proprietary license.
Okay. So we'll nix that as well.
I'll try to
Can
double
I ask?
check.
Can I ask? Would we need I mean, if we're going to use it as for internal development purposes only, to design the open source project, if we're not going to make it available to anyone, do we need licensing?
We're part of what we're doing is making sure we support the open source infrastructure in general by trying to be as close to that as we can. We may not always be able to do that, but where we can, we should, to support our community. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, so I think I forget which one of these sites spams my student inbox a lot. I think it might be Lucid Chart. It's kind of annoying. So
Okay.
that might be a point of consideration.
Yeah, that's an important one. I don't like spam. Don't say have anything without spam in it. Monty Python, for those of you who don't know.
I was about to say, are you a Monty Python reference?
Yes, just a little bit. What would a gathering of gamers and game developers and stuff be without at least one Monty Python quote every now and then?
What would that be called? I believe we call that a nerdage.
No, I mean without such a quote.
Non-existent.
Exactly. It's either Monty Python or Life of Brian for me.
Well, that's Monty Python as well.
Is it? I thought they were two different things.
Nope, that's Monty Python. Same thing with Eric the Viking and many, many, many others. All right. Anyway,
good to know.
sorry, didn't mean to derail things.
So next option is Pencil. So it has GPL version 2, which I think is very similar to our license.
Yeah, it's the older.
The same.
It's similar, but it's older. But it's an open source. It's a well recognized open source license, so it totally is okay for. I mean, because it doesn't affect our release product, but as far as supporting the open source community, it's totally absolutely acceptable.
So it doesn't have collaborative features, which is frankly the only thing that I found that was wrong with it. It supports screen UI and code wireframing, exports to a ton of stuff, PNG, web, PDF. There's an unlimited number of users, but that's because you can't link accounts. So we could all have our own personal account, but there would be no collab between those accounts. Other than that, there aren't any limitations. They only have a free version, so you would get full functionality. See, Luke, you said that it might be more useful for meetings in the style of asking someone to add something and then like kind of screen sharing so that we can all see it, but just use it as a base.
Yeah, like a whiteboard, like someone drives, everyone else watches, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly one way to work. I mean, just sharing through Jitsi and then just verbally is certainly a workaround. That works for real time, but it doesn't work for like delayed, people checking in and out at different times and such.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't automatically cross it off. I'd say it's in the running. It's just that the lack of collaboration is a concern.
Yeah.
It's not
as well.
Yeah, it's not a showstopper, but it's a concern.
Yeah, Pencil checks all of our boxes except for that one. So based on what I was seeing in some of the other ones, that might be what we end up going with. But obviously we're going to review everything before we do that. Does anyone else have notes on Pencil? Anything they've noticed? Questions?
Anybody get a chance to actually try it?
That one, it's all local, if I remember, on your computer, right? There's no like web part of that.
I think it is local, yeah. So it says that Yeah, I think you would download it. It does have like a shape library and stuff, and you can pull clip out from the web. But I think part of the reason they don't have collaborative features is that it's local. But it does also, it has a reference wiki, which would be nice.
Open source GUI. Yeah, so yeah, it installs in popular desktop platforms, so it's desktop only. Yeah, which is why it lacks the collaboration. So again, in the running, we need to learn a little bit more about our other options that would do offer collaboration. Man, they really make Lucidchart impossible to find out what the actual license is.
Yeah, I poked around on it's a lot of them are like that. I looked around with the ones that offer like a free version and then paid versions, and all of those ones, it's like I don't know what your licensing is for this.
Yeah, from everything I can tell, it's a proprietary license because if it was open source, you'd think they'd say something somewhere.
Which means the next three we might have issues with. So the first one, Envision, and I would suggest you guys, as we're kind of going through these, just open the page and kind of click around as I review main features. So licensing, this one, unclear. It has collaborative commenting, but not editing, which, I mean, would work. It supports screen UI, but not code wireframing. It integrates with multiple apps. So I'm not certain if it exports directly to a file, but it may export through an application. Number of users might be limiting because you can have the main editor and then only 2 additional accounts that can view what they're editing, and you can only have 3 documents, and that's all for the free version. It has different tiers. Let's see. There are no admin rules or security functionality associated with this. Yeah, does anyone else have any notes, any questions about this one?
Oh, for crying out loud, come on. Cool.
Just in general, what exactly is code wireframing? I've always thought of it as connecting like UI.
I think they're talking like loose, like a step away from UML, laying out your objects and such and linking them and all of that. I think is what.
Well, I think code wireframing when you actually are coding in like HTML, and that's what's displayed in HTML and CSS, and that's what's displayed on the screen. That's what your wireframe is made of.
Okay.
Because
we should find out.
I do a different project for a different volunteer organization, and they provide us with a Figma file which has some loose CSS in it that we can actually just copy.
So if that's the case, then the terminology has changed because 20 years ago, code wireframing was just a step down from UML, aka diagramming.
That's what I was referring to when I was writing these.
So you meant
it's just a lot of them are like it's screen only. So it's like here, design this screen, but it's like I mean we could delete everything out of it and just like type in, you know, this is what this is, but it's the functionality I think would be odd from here's how your screens would interact with each other to here's how your code goes.
Okay, so Envision looks like it's a cloud platform only. So it's not gonna, right, it looks like you have to go through them for everything. It's not something we can self-host, download, install, any of that. You create an account on their cloud servers, and everything is on their cloud, and so that's not an open source solution at all because of course they're going to spam the heck out of us to try to upgrade and all that for Envision. So that is, yeah, that looks like cloud only.
I have one on here that's not on your list that I don't. It's free for up to 2 users. I don't know how many people are actually gonna be doing the wireframing, but they have a free license for up to 2 users.
Which one?
It's called Figma.
Okay. Is it?
Like fig, like the fruit in the MA, right?
But I feel like a lot of the wireframing tools that exist are more for web development and not for like
Game UI.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. But like a lot of these looked very like web dev focused.
Yeah.
Like it might almost be easier to just.
Actually, you know what? Hang on. I've got somewhere here. I've got a number of game development books I haven't cracked open in a while, and I think they've got suggestions for wireframe
On software.
for wireframe tools. Yeah, I mean they may not be open source, but they'll at least. Okay, I've got a bunch of them. They're just kind of scattered. Why don't you guys continue on, and I'll try to accumulate them because they're scattered around the house.
Okay. So next we'll be looking at is Mockflow. Again, probably going to be proprietary license as it does have those tiers. The free version gives you one project limited to 3 pages with 2 reviewers per project, which is going to be kind of a big limitation. I'm unsure about code wireframing. They have real-time comment collaboration. I couldn't find what it exports to. Maybe it doesn't export. One of the features I liked was that it lets you create style guides, but I don't know that that's particularly relevant to the coding part of it. But it might be helpful if we go into UI.
One note I had on this Mockflow, this is one of my favorite. It's of the proprietary ones. Was it would give you like you can get like a template of like a phone or a laptop screen or something, and you could build your basic UI on that, kind of like you would in a Photoshop document, but it's free, so you don't have to worry about like Adobe licensing, which is really neat. But if it's proprietary, that might not really work too well with our.
Yeah.
Contract.
I'm not sure. I'm trying to see if I can. I mean, I know I already looked, so I'm not positive. Yeah, I couldn't find anything, so I think we're assuming the ones we can't find are proprietary. Does anyone else have any notes after like a brief glance on it? Okay, so next one would be mockups. Again, possibly proprietary. They have free account version. Real-time collaboration, supports screen UI and code wireframing. Nothing on exporting. I didn't see anything on number of users. They do limit you to 200 objects to your document, which will be an issue. And might honestly shut down mockups altogether because I don't know how many objects we're going to need, but if we need more than 200, we're kind of screwed. Any other notes on mockups that you guys see? Or thoughts on if you think 200 objects is going to limit us?
Is it 200 for your entire account, or is it just per document?
It might be per document, but I also think that they limit the number of documents that you can have.
Oh, they do that too. Dang
I
it.
think so, but I'm not 100%.
Okay.
positive.
If it's just per document, there's no document limit. That might not be terrible. So it
Yeah,
might be-
we just make
it would
additional.
let you break down your bigger classes a lot more in depth with that limitation, but it still sounds like a pain.
So let's do a little process of elimination so we can kind of narrow it down, and then also look for other options that we haven't come across yet. If it's cloud only, if they only offer it in the cloud, and we can't self-host it, take it off the list.
Just saw mockups also only has one project, so we would have 200 objects max, and we can't do anything else with it. So I kind of think we should take it off.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, and if it's proprietary license, take it off the list as well. So that right there should whittle that down. I think we're going to probably have to look a little further. And so what I think we could do, while I continue to look for more, I've got some of the, so you got to realize I've got like a few hundred computer books because I go back all the way to 1970s. I've got like IBM mainframe books and stuff. But as I try to dig up the rest of these gaming programming related books, some of them I bought for my kids when they were learning to program as kids. We could break off, take a little bit of everybody, just kind of do a little more investigation and update this list, do some searches at it. The key thing we're looking for is that we can either install it locally, that it's open source, B, we can install it locally, or on a server or whatever. C, we'd like to have collaboration. It's not mandatory, but we'd like to have it. What else we really need to make sure we have there? You keep saying code wireframe, and I'm not really clear. Sounds like we might have 3 different interpretations of what that might mean.
Well, so what I'm looking at is if you open I guess if we're just look at InVision, we've already ruled out, but to look at it as an example,
Sure.
If you look at the stuff that they are creating with that, it's very like Photoshop-esque, like here's how your screen would be laid out exactly, and their flows are for the screens and not for coding, and I think a lot of it's like interactive, like here's how your screen would function, and I don't know that is going to line up with what we need to do.
So that's no longer just a wireframe tool. That's a UI tool and UX tool at that point. Yeah. Okay. Which isn't terrible, except that it's very much web centric. It looks like.
Hey, Hawk,
Yeah.
I found some more tools. There's like a
Good.
Stack Overflow of like a bunch of people asking
Perfect.
the same question as us.
Perfect. Why don't you put some of those in the spreadsheet in the
Yeah.
list there with the links?
I'm trying to see which ones are,
Yeah,
roll them
viable.
out while I'm looking
Yeah,
at them.
perfect. There's a couple more gaming development books here I'm trying to find. Is there anything else in that list you still need to go over, or should we just kind of have everybody break off into research mode briefly and start updating the spreadsheet?
We have 2 more.
Okay, let's go over them then.
So first is Fluid UI. Couldn't find anything on license. It has real-time collaboration. For Screen UI, not sure that it supports coding wireframe. Couldn't find anything on exporting. Gives you 1 editor, 10-page limitation. It is free, but don't recall if this had tiered features. I assume it does, but let's take a look. It does, so there is a free version, but they have 3 additional tiers, so I'm assuming that is going to give us a license that we can't work with.
Well, it's hard to say because Glue and Odoo offer community editions for free, and then they have the tiered business and enterprise, but it's mostly support and package related. So you have to be careful about automatically assuming that. It is a potential red flag, but you have to dig a little deeper to be certain of that. Just because it's tiered doesn't mean often that's how open source projects support themselves, is they give you the code for free, but the things that make it easier to implement and use is where you start paying a little bit, for people who are willing to do that, who don't want to deal with delving into the code. So you have to be careful about that just because it's tiered. Key thing is if you can find what it actually states the license.
Yeah, I definitely looked around for that and couldn't find anything.
It's interesting how many companies hide their licensing now. They didn't used to do that.
Does anyone have any notes, questions about Fluid UI?
I think that was the one I didn't get to try out because I ran out of time.
In looking for the license, I just saw something that said it's used primarily for mobile touch interfaces, so that isn't really what we're looking for.
Correct. Well, I wish my middle son Brennan was here because I know he's been through this process fairly recently. He'd be able to help bring us up to speed a little faster. He's technically part of the group, but he's just been way too busy to to show up.
So the last one we have to talk about is Draw.io. It is open source. Luke, you use it the most, so I don't know if you want to kind of discuss it.
Oh, Draw.io.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's neat. I think it would work pretty good for what we have to do. It's more like you're drawing images. We use it in my school for designing ER diagrams for databases a lot. But like they
Yeah,
have like built-in tables like you can make on a, like, let's say player object has score.
yeah, I've used
All those
Draw.io.
values, you can do that.
Yeah, I've used it in the past as well.
I've used it for UML too.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you just used it for more of that kind of stuff. That's good.
That might be one to that one rings a bell. So that's definitely something to delve into.
It is only on the cloud, but it is open source, and like what I do like about it is like it just you literally hit a button and it goes onto your GitHub. It's not that hard.
Okay. That's interesting. That it's both open source and in the cloud. That's cool.
Because I think they use like Google Docs kind of. It's like it's modeled after it, but you don't have to use Google Docs as like the actual like place you save your files.
Okay, so it does look like of the ones we've covered right now would just be Pencil and Draw.io that are options. So if we do want to do a little mini research thing and kind of look at what else we can find, we haven't covered Figma yet because I wanted a chance to kind of look it over before we discussed. So if we want to take 10-15 minutes to kind of look for other stuff, see what we can find.
So I'm reading about self-hosting. So Draw.io is changed to diagrams.net, but I got a posting here that says, so here's somebody who says, I want to be able to self-host so that it connects to their own Git instance instead of, the main Git. And the answer is you can only do this with a self-hosted Draw.io instance. You need to have your GitLab admin configure your application first, etc. So that's promising that that there is somewhere potentially a self-hosted version. We've got to dig deeper, but that is promising. Self-hosted Draw.io and alternatives, self-hosted note-taking and similar software. Okay, so some of the alternatives to it are Leanote, Laverna, ShareLaText. Anyway, here's a whole, as far as related to that style of app. But I'm still interested about the Draw.io self-hosting. Here we go. Draw.io. I think this is their GitHub. Okay, diagrams.net, previously Draw.io, is an online diagramming website that delivers the source in this project. All right, let me share that link. Diagrams.net uses the MXGraph library as the base of the stack, with the graph editor example from MXGraph as the base of the application part. The MXGraph library build use is stored under blah 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 license. Diagrams.net is licensed under the Apache v2. Development guides being started on the GitHub project wiki. There's a draw.io tag on Stack Overflow. MXGraph documentation provides a lot of the docs for the bottom part of the stack. One way to run diagrams.net is to fork this project, publish the master branch to GitHub Pages and the Pages sites, and have the full editor functionality sans the integrations. Another way is use the recommended Docker project or to download draw.io desktop. Oh, there's a desktop version as well. The full package.war of the client and servlets. Okay, so it's Java-based. Yay. Is built when the project is tagged and available on the releases page. Supported browsers, IE 11, Chrome 7+, Firefox 7+, Safari 11+, Opera 5+, native Android browser 7+, iOS version 11.2 and 10.3, and Edge 7.9+. So that looks promising. Now, so the good thing is we can test out the feature set. Now, does this one have collaboration?
Kind of, like you could. It's like working on a Google Doc. So like there's a delay, but like it is possible.
Okay, well that's better than none.
Yeah, we in our database class, like we're doing a project. We're like making a car dealership thing. And we're just like, we'll add this, no, and like 3 seconds later, it adds it.
Okay, well, and that could be a number of things. That could be them load balancing, or there's a whole slew of things as far as delay. If we self-host, it could be totally configurable.
Yeah.
So, so that's promising because it's open source. It's the Apache license, which isn't the greatest, but it's acceptable. We can use the cloud or self-host it. It can, you said, to some degree, collaborate. That could be, okay, Screen UI, code wireframe, yep. Exports to most basic files. One editor. Integrates. So that definitely seems to be in the running, especially since code is available to set it up on our own. I mean, I didn't have to create an account or anything to go into it. I forgot how easy this was. It's got a lot of great shapes. So let's see about, okay, here's share for Google Drive and OneDrive files. Okay, so that's what you have to do in that case.
I may be missing, but is there a way to link to another file on draw.io? Or another page? Oh yeah, down here.
You can have like different pages in the same document.
And they can link to each other?
I don't know about that.
But I'm liking everything I'm seeing. We got UML support, we got entities, flowcharts. I mean, this is everything. Let's see, where's the basic wireframe stuff?
Yeah, no, there's a way to do it. I see it, okay.
I'm looking on their site. They have some like pretty complex example charts going on.
Yep.
That look like they'd be pretty good for what we want to do.
And apparently you can add a lot more shapes too. It's not limited to just what's there. Oh, there's a ton. If you click on add, plus more shapes at the bottom left, there's a ton more options you can add. So this is well supported by the community. What's everybody thinking on this?
I like it.
I mean, it looks like it would fit our needs. I mean, it's we can collaborate, and I think it gives us more customizability than some of the other options.
One of the add-ons in there is mock-ups, so that's helpful. That's got some nice tools for mock-ups there. Yeah, I think.
Nice
Go ahead.
It's nice we could use one tool for multiple purposes too.
Yes. Oh, heck yeah.
Lower our learning curve.
Heck yeah, exactly. I'm liking what I'm seeing here, especially since we have the option of just going with their cloud, which is easy to access, or we have the option to self-host, so we're not vendor locked. We have the freedom to move if we wish to. We don't have to. I just don't want it that we're held hostage, right? I've watched cloud companies come and go. Not to mention just the inherent insecurity of cloud computing these days, but that as companies come and go, it can be sometimes or they get acquired and they change their licensing, and then you got to try to grab all your stuff before it gets lost, and it's you can't do anything with it, and I've just seen it too many times where all your work can be held hostage or lost when you rely on a cloud provider or any provider that gives you a vendor lock-in like that. And this, we're able to keep it safe and free. We can, if let's just say for some reason the site is taken offline or whatever, we have an option to set up our own and keep going. And that's, I think, very important. And this has a lot of different options. We got electrical and floor plans, and holy crap. I mean, they're not the most robust templates, but they're sufficient for what we need. And
the reason we use it at school is because we had a lot of issues with everything going on right now, getting Visio on the computers, and this is the closest thing.
Exactly. Visio, I used to love Visio way back when, and Microsoft acquired it and just started to destroy it like so many other products. So yeah, no, we got data flow diagrams, site maps, product specific things with AWS and Azure and Cisco. Does anybody think of anything that would be better than this? Because so far this looks like by far the best match. Do you guys want to keep looking, or do you think we've found what we're looking for?
I think this meets our needs.
Valerie, you want to go around, check in with everybody, make sure we've got unanimous, or because please, this is your chance to say, no, wait a minute, let's look a little deeper. Or if everybody's happy, I'd like to know that everybody's on board here.
Okay, Tim,
Looks good to me.
Trevor,
I'm fine with it. I'm game.
Luke,
I suggested it, so I'm fine with it.
Doug,
Yeah, it works for me.
Nick.
Sounds good to me.
It even has cabinet diagramming.
Like kitchen cabinet?
Yes. Oh, no. I think it's server rack. What? I don't know. No, that might be server rack cabinet.
Oh.
No. Well, crap. I can't. It could be either. I'm not familiar with that, so. Those
there was stuff for like electrical and floor plans.
Yeah, there were, and
If you load into that one, it is electrical cabinets.
electrical cabinet. That's okay. Those are
Those
the punch downs. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That makes more sense. I was like,
I
what?
was sad. I can't renovate my house without I.
That's use Home Studio 3D. That's how I did the designs for my when we renovated the bathroom ring. It's really great. It's also open source free. It lets you create 3-dimensional fly-throughs. It's how I did the mock-ups of the RPG trailer years ago. Home Studio 3. It's a local install, and you create your floor plans, and then you can create photorealistic snapshots, or you can create 3D fly-throughs. Very cool tool for that. Home Studio 3D. Okay, yeah, I think, Valerie, what do you think?
Yeah, that seems good.
All right. So the only question is, do we need to set up our own hosting of it, or can we make the existing hosting work to our needs with collaboration and stuff? We'll live with using Google Docs for now to integrate with it for now. We're trying to get away from using Google as much as possible, but for moving the project forward, we could do that temporarily. Because again, since we have the option to self-host, then that makes it a lot easier to export it to our own setup. So I think at this point we'll need to find a tutorial or something that walks us through specific to what we want to do. We want to learn about how the collaboration can work, what we have to do. You know, we're going to have to set up an instance for us to collaborate on. So if you want to delve into that, and we can circle back on that next week, unless you've.
It
Go ahead.
looks like you could just do it in GitHub.
Okay, cool.
With that link, you can go into a repo.
Okay,
So
but we all need to refresh on it. I haven't.
yeah,
I remember using Draw.io, but it was no way near this robust. So it must have been a long time ago that I used it. I know I used it. It has come a long way. So we all have a learning curve on this. So Valerie, if you can find some good little tutorials, because I'm also advertising, get new team members added to help grow our team, and we're going to want to have those tutorials handy for those who have to catch up to wherever we're at.
Okay.
And then so Valerie, if you want to create the account or whatever, the instance that's associated with this project, and start figuring out what needs to be configured to make it link to our GitHub, etc. That we can come back to that next week, because obviously we're not going to get that done right now. I think it's going to take time. What else is there we can work on until this is ready?
I thought you wanted to do the multiplayer book training.
Remind me what that is.
So it's what we did last meeting.
Oh,
where-
the solo adventure book, doing it multiplayer style. We were gonna try.
Mhm.
We were gonna try to figure out how to make it multiplayer. That's right. Thank you. All right. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and take our break right now? Do our 5-minute whatever break, and
Okay.
then we'll come back and we'll jump into trying to go to Warlock and Firetop Mountain as a collaborative group rather than a round robin group, trying to figure out how to make that work as a prototype for this game development. So we'll be back in 5 or 10 minutes.
just on display, and he's actually told us to talk about it.
Okay, so the Amiga was in its time 10 years ahead of the rest of the PC market. Mac, PC were 10 years easily behind the Amiga. In 1984, it was a multimedia computer with 4 audio channels, multitasking Motorola processors that could actually truly multitask rather than time slice, MIDI, 4,000 colors when everybody else was either grayscale on the Mac or 16 to maybe 256. Not even that. No, it was really just 16 color, 4 color, 16 color on the PCs.
Air quote colors.
What's that?
Color and air quotes on the PC side.
Yeah, it was color. You had color. You're thinking monochrome back in the before that, but by '84, like the PC Junior could do 16, and I think with the sidecar could do 256 colors, which I had an IBM PC Junior as well. But the Amiga was just way ahead. By '86, I think, or '88, somewhere around there, it could do. You could get a card in it and a blitter or whatever that could do 4 million colors and such. So, I mean, it was 10 years ahead of, maybe 65,000, but I had a version not long after that could do 4 million colors. It had this open port engineering design, especially with the Amiga 2000, that basically you could slap in, it had a 144-bit Zorro slot that you could slap in any card that was designed and basically stick other computers in your computer. So it supported like virtual computers in a computer. So you had your main Amiga, but you could slap in a PC processor, an Intel processor. You could slap in another Motorola processor, or later on a PowerPC processor, in addition to its core processor that was a Motorola and such. You could swap out, the chips were socketed, so you could remove them and upgrade them rather than being soldered in. It was amazing. Now, one of its biggest limitations with that, though, is it did have some limited bus speeds, and so that's why I had to keep upgrading those sockets. And eventually, the biggest problem was they marketed to themselves. Commodore marketed to Commodore people. They did not do a good job of marketing outside. And so eventually that ate them alive, and by the 90s they died through bad management. They had a far superior product, but they did a lousy job of marketing. And so anyway, mine still runs. I know a lot of people still have running Amigas even this now 30 years later plus. One of the cool things about it was that they had a very robust game development community. And so you saw a lot of early games on there. It was awesome. Anyway, what I'm thinking of as a template for an initial start, and then we'll tweak it as needed. And we can always throw it out if it doesn't work, because again, I have not played this game in years, but I was thinking as far as how to manage the turn-based process is we take a look at the example game Bandit Kings, which I'm going to screen share here. I'll go ahead and give you the URL as well, but then I'm going to do a share video and we'll take a look at it. And then, maybe I'll look at it and go, oh, wait, that's not how I remember it. Never mind. But because I haven't had a chance to prep this, but let's go ahead. Excuse me, I'm going to share the video.
Welcome to Koi's game Bandit made in China. I'm Magican, and this game, as you can see, it looks pretty old, and it is. It's actually from 1988. So, why play this game? There's actually only one way to say it, it's the gameplay. The gameplay is really, really good. I actually think this is one of the best game Koi has ever made, gameplay-wise. They have made a lot of other games, and like Genghis Khan, Nobunaga, and stuff like that. But I think this is the best of them.
I didn't know this was going to have commentary. I just grabbed this during the break, but maybe that'll be helpful. We'll see.
I hope they will have made it number 2, because you have 49 areas where you can conquer all the areas, and I would like to have worldwide instead of just China. We play in China, as you can see. This is a pretty old game, and the graphic is not that good, but it doesn't have to be in this game.
Not good by today's standards, but 1988.
Oh, that must have been perfect. Back then.
It was awesome.
The sound is not perfect, but it's better than the PC sound that I.
Yeah, so on the Amiga, we had 4-channel sound rather than one speaker on the PC or kind of stereo on the Mac. We had four different channels we could control on the default Amiga,
Time.
and MIDI and all that.
So I'm playing on an Amiga version. Here you have option to begin and load, of course. And the sound I will, the next recording will turn down, so it will be a little bit lower, much lower, because it repeats itself all the time. Here you have 4 times up.
So here's where they could, choose their genre, whatever. And again, we're not expecting to copy the UI exactly. It's just we're just getting ideas for the gameplay.
So time areas you can start with, and the game will end in 11:27. I'm not sure it's 27th of January or 27th of December, like going into 28. I'm not sure about that, but so I always like to start in the beginning to start from the scratch, and all the areas is like pretty not set or anything, and these characters have different stats. Many use Yang Shi because he is really, really strong, plus has magic abilities. Magic is something I will get it on to a little bit later, but you can fire fireball in the battles if you have 60, and you can fire magic if you have 80, and he can come up to that if you train him well. And Shi is really strong. Sushi is really good also. Suyu is quite good. The people, the most of them think that
So I think I'll have to go back and boot the computer up, but I think you can select multiple characters so that if you're playing with friends, you can each take turns controlling each character. So he only selected one, so I'll have to check in on that about that option, because I was kind of hoping he'd choose multiple players, but we'll see.
How did they,
What's that?
was it like split screen or was it like
It-
over LAN?
This is a turn-based game.
Oh, it is, okay.
So it's just like in an arcade where you each take turns at the arcade screen or the pinball machine. You just each take turns. I know it's a strange concept, taking turns. How do they do that? Split screen or LAN? Or like turn taking? Now the Amiga was later able to be LAN capable. In fact, for a while I hosted my Amiga website in the 90s and early 2000s on my Amiga. I was able to get an Ethernet card, and then unfortunately that card broke, and I haven't gotten around to fixing it. But it was actually working as a web server even in the early 2000s, hosting Amiga stuff. So random generating.
And you can continue all you want on those 4 stats, but you cannot change body. If you say yes to 93, then you get 93, and the body cannot be changed. It's like what you have. Strength can be improved, dexterity, wisdom can improve. The rest, the integrity, mercy, and courage cannot.
93 body's pretty good.
Especially integrity, though. You can trust this gun.
93 body's pretty good.
But again, in the game, it's only about getting different kind of people, and the rest is like standard. And I think this is not good enough. I really like the 100 body there, and it's not that difficult to get with this character here. It should not be that difficult to get with this character. But strength can be over 90, so I want to have over 90. Dex can be 80. And wisdom can be about 60, so I will just keep in. I want to have like strength like 96. That's good. Just to have a little bit of 90 to have that. That would be the best choice for me. And the body 100. So I'll just do this a little bit. Let's see here, and it should not take that long because I'm not going for.
It seems to defeat the purpose of.
I'm just having the body and.
Of random generating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, you still can't control what the ratios are. He's just trying to get it within the ballpark of what he wants. So, but yeah, we wouldn't do that the same way.
The body will do what I want to do now. It should be actually quite good. And then
He should have time lapsed this part.
90 there. I want to go up to that. Like that one. That's good. 100 body, 96 strength, 80.
That is really good.
That's the dumbest.
Wisdom's
What?
I said that's the dumbest he's been yet. His wisdom is 50.
Yeah, but the body strength dex. I think this one doesn't do spell casting, so I think that is less of an issue.
Yes. Who needs their mind when you can just use your body?
It's a 50. That's not good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's 60. You can use a fireball, or if it's 50. I think that's one. I'll just take him.
Yeah, he was debating, but he went for it.
And the level I will play as the hardest level. And
Oh, he's playing at the most difficult level.
you can have Shrine Brotherhood that you can actually use different areas, and you can have different leaders and ask them to go in and attack and stuff like that. But as level 5 you can have 2 or 3, I can't remember. But at level 1 you can have 9. So it's a big difference, not just that. Loyalty, everything goes down.
So you see how it was doing a rotation there? These were the different provinces and such. As each warlord did their thing, it was going through and doing its thing in a time lapse. So this is a, more of a strategic game, though it's got role-playing elements. But it rotates through. And so when you choose multiple characters, when that rotation happens, instead of just this one character showing up, each person gets a turn. Right? You understand?
Okay.
in attack and stuff like that. But as level 5, you can have 2 or 3, I can't remember. But at level 1, you can have 9. So it's a big, big difference. Not just that. Loyalty, everything goes down pretty fast. So it's really tough playing level 5. So I would just do that. I play this game a lot. So I hopefully get what I want in this game. Let's see. This is the bad guy, Gao Kui. He's the ruler. He has all these red areas here. And again, he is not a good guy. He is a bad guy, and you are the good guy. That's always the way the games are in the beginning. And in these times in 1988, there was a lot about good guys and bad guys. The issue is here, I'm in exile, and he threw me out, and you can you have to attack and win him over him, not the other areas. Him is the most important thing to win over, but you have to have the Emperor's approval, and that will take a long time. But you have to right click up here and use the menus. That's really like old style, and I have to flee, and I will flee to 30. I will try to take the worst area, not the worst, but
So in this respect, this particular game is closer to Fablelands. Because remember, Fablelands is more map-based, right? You buy a book and it covers a region rather than a straight linear story. And so you can go choose to explore different areas. So just keeping that in mind. And that's not too different than like the Neverwinter Nights design that we did. So there's a couple of ways it can be approached.
Normally up here you have, if you settle here in the 15, you can have all these, all 13 you can have 1, 2, I could go up with 30, but you can see different also want to settle. 40 is a really good area, big good area. The normal standard for the rest of them, but you can get 40 and 39. And up here in 2 you can get 1, 2, 13 as I said before. And I will try to go to 22. That's the only area where you only got 1. All the rest is close to somebody else, and they have armies and strength. You are only yourself right now, and you can see I lost 10 body. That's why 100 is good. That's a really good number to have, and it's the best, of course, 100. But you can move and get a lot of ways here. Okay, now 17 is also occupied, and you see 1, 30. So now that's only 2. 5 I can also put up myself up in 5. But that's only this, and these 2 can take them here, that, this one can take. So I'll just take this area down.
Do you understand what he's saying? He's trying to find a space that isn't next to an opposing force that could immediately attack him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you don't want to be right next to it because then that's just setting yourself up.
Right. Yeah.
Time.
Yeah. Exactly.
I want to have a really strong area. Let's see if there's anybody else coming in here, making doing anything. Nope. Nothing else here. Nothing here. 40 and 39 is a really good area right now, but I will just settle and say yes to that. Now the game actually begins. This guy was in exile. Now I have the purple color here, and look at all this: gold, food, metal, fur, and raid, heroes, men, arms, skill. That's a lot. I'm just taking a little bit of time. Gold, of course, is important to recruit armies and to give the citizen. Food is not that important right now when you only are you. 1 hero, that's me, and you can have 100 men. That's 1 people. If you recruit that guy, you have 2 heroes and then 200 men. but that will require loyalty also, and this level, that's really hard. Support is the most important thing in the beginning. You see it's red, it's 0. At 40, you will get supplies. Over 40, you are on the safe side, and I always try to go after 100. Flood, land, and wealth. Wealth is how much you get of gold. Land is how much you get of food. Flood is more like protecting your area. I will only, flood is quite high here, but I will only get, in the beginning, not go after flood at all.
There are flooding events that cause things to happen.
And this is actually an area where you can build ships. There's also areas where you can have not build, get ships for the when you travel down to downtown. They have ship makers so they can make ship for you, and you can also have areas where they can make weapons for you. Weapons is of course the most important thing. Ships is not that important. There's some heroes that can make ships. They are important when you attack. But if you attack areas where there's no rivers and floods, stuff like that, then it doesn't matter at all. But weapons is really important. You can get that by metal. Fur is good trading area, trading thing to do and trade with. It's not like keeping yourself warm, it's just trading goods. And
I'm going to speed through this part.
it's important thing. Quick dark thing. Bulk food on the table and give that to the citizens. That's really good to give food to the citizens. Move heroes, that's only because I can move from one area to another. Travel, that's downtown. When I have to buy a ship or get other people to join me down here and go on expedition. If there is some wolves, stuff like that, bears coming in, it's not good when you're yourself. You can get pretty hardly injured and then your body will be really low and you cannot do anything. And right now I have 70 body, I can do a lot of stuff, so that's not good. Going to exile if you think that's a good thing to do when you are pressured and all the time. Throw feast gets loyalty to the heroes you have, and it will give your body a little bit up 5 points. Rest will give, I can't remember, it's 15 or something, 10 or 15 body up.
So you see how it's an interesting hybrid of a turn-based strategy and role play. It's kind of that, that transition from chainmail into D&D. It's got kind of the overlap of both going on here.
Economy, I prefer to give to get to money. They are 1.4, is what this is. We use the cloud. So get the loyalty up. Either men, assign men if there's heroes. That's important. The best. You don't swap roll to bad ones. You can get bad ones.
So that's where you can ally yourself with the others. So you'll notice that there are different colors on the map. Those different colors are the other PCs and NPCs as they settle their provinces. And so you can make alliances and you can swear brotherhood, etc. with each other.
Just to, it's important. Diplomatic, swap brotherhood, that's really good. If you have good heroes, that's important. The best. You don't swap brotherhood to bad ones. You can get bad ones just to have armies to protect. Make alliances, that's difficult, but you can do that to other non-down.
Hey kiddo, I'm in a meeting. What's up?
Invite bandits to lair. That's the hardest thing. That is actually when you are getting bigger, you can invite them to join you.
I'll be freed up in about 40 minutes if you want to talk then.
Other province, if you have that, to not go out the areas and attack and do
Okay,
stuff like
hang
that.
on to yourself. Love you, kiddo.
Promote if you have 4 heroes or 2 heroes and you think the other one
Understood.
is better to do
Oh
that.
boy.
Exile
All right.
hero, if you don't like
Love you too,
the
bye.
hero you have, you can get him away. View, that's just preferences like this. And you can also view others, but that will cost you a turn. This territory alliance, and then you have sound. I will cut the sound a little bit lower later on and remove the animations and maybe the skills, but it's because it's just down here the animations are. Let's start. I always start with the area here. You can see it's May, so there is actually food. It's good game on, and I will just hunt for food. That will take 1 month always. I will use him. And you can see down here, that's a picture where he hunts food. That's the animation, and it takes a little bit of time. That's why I want to remove it, but I will just show you this recording here. 231, that's really good. That's strength. I think this is strength dex. Well, we're done. Okay, now there's a wolf terrorizing the townspeople. If I take that wolf, it will be quite good. The wolf will actually, if I go on expedition, but I can damage myself. It's not always this happens. There's a wolf here, or there's anyone else here. It's just random everything. That can also play 3. I don't think I will do this because I'm so high in body. I can really injure myself. I cannot get killed, but I can get injured. I don't think this guy can get killed. He's too strong for that. But it will raise both public opinion of the people that's in this area here. Also around, you will get. I'll just show you. I don't lose a turn. Data on heroes. Me, popularity. This is really good to have popularity, and you can see I got Dex for the food one, so it's Dex it's using. So for hunting food, that's 15. So you can raise them a bit up all the time. Strength, you can also do that. So popularity, if I go.
I like that it had integrity, mercy, and courage as stats in there. Did you see that?
Oh, under the personality.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that was interesting. That's a very Confucian thing, by the way. You know, Confucius.
Time, strength, you can also do that. So popularity, if I go and take that move there, but I will play it safe. I'm on the highest level, so I need to do something here. Hunt for food again, more food. Let's see how much I get. And again, 280, a little bit lower, but 200 is fine. That's really good. Let's see here. And now it's July, summertime, and there can come flood, everything here. In the summertime, that's a lot of things going on. Let's just show you something here. I've did this 2 times now, and the body is 45. It's take. Let's see how much. 70. So it's that's a little bit. 25, something like that. I'm not sure. Maybe it's because maybe it takes 20 and it just pop up sometimes. I have to play it in a row. Just go for it and play this scenario a lot of times or other scenarios. And of course I do not always win. Let's just see how much I really lost then. 45. So it's auction. So I need to rest.
It's at the bottom of general.
Let's see if
Come
I
on,
can
go.
hunt for more food.
Oh, more food,
Just rest
jeez.
and go down here and rest. And say yes to resting. And then you see a snorking image here. So the graphics not that
And it's interesting that it takes resting into account, right? You know, you don't see that much in strategy games.
important. These numbers are really important. And let's see, Jiangxi turns in exile. Okay. There's one in 39 now. And the support is still, and it's September, it's still 0. So it's really important I do something now. Construction. Let's see here. And 11 to 15. And I think that is actually strength. Or something like that. It's October. December. That's the latest of the month. So that's to give food to citizens. Like this. 46. Support is good now. That's so important. And let's see if I can't just get good enough hunt and like look at that 49. That would be high if I had that. And now I'm too tired to do anything, so I have to rest. I cannot do anything. I cannot hunt for food because it's winter. So that was not the best, but it's okay if I do not get lower than this because the support is good and I will get wealth, get some gold and food this time. And this is the Emperor. He's always saying, okay, there's no one to challenge. He's pretty weak, but he can give you the pass to attack Gary Creed, and that's really important. And 10 and 39, so that's 2 moved away from these areas to go to Gary Creed. And 25, that's this area. Look at that. Gold is coming in, and food, and support for 1. So that is quite good. One thing you can see, that's 2 people now. I can go up and go down here and see data on people. And this guy has strength 52, dexterity. It's good to have 2 persons just so when I'm tired a little bit I can rest and he can do something instead, stuff like that. And he's not that bad. He's just an average guy. Let's see. Okay, let's just see. There's one more here. This is a really bad guy. Look at that. He cannot do anything really. That's just one to keep an area. So that's not good enough. But travel. Ending this recording, I will just travel and go down and see if I can get these guys. Now I got gold. So you have some options. I have marketplace where I can buy food, sell food, fire up. That's the same point. So I will not remember this uses a turn. So I can go to the shipyard 200, but downtown, that's where you recruit people. But you will lose popularity if you just start recruiting people. So you can do 2 things. You can either listen to rumors and see.
The listen to rumors, I think, is something to keep in mind as a feature as far as in gameplay and such, offering, talking to NPCs to get little clues that may be false clues or maybe helpful clues, having that listen to rumors as an option.
Yes, and stuff like that. So that's up high. But you could. The merchant Kaoshi, that's actually the guy here. I will not become too alone with one, it's just food. Yeah, Kaoshi. You could also go in and say, and try to and ask if he wants to join you. And that costs gold, as you can see. Let me just show that's 11 gold. I think that's not that good. But now she secretly wishes to become a bandit. Yours will be a simple task, so that will be good. I will do your money. And you decide to join your band. The problem here is you have to keep the morale of your black's loyalty in this situation. The loyalty right now is between 20 and 30. Some of the really low people, like that fine. But if you give him a territory, he will rise it up himself. But when you do like this, then it will not. Okay, he asked for I recruit him. That's not good because I do not have the gold for this. But let's say yes to him anyway. It will give me a little better loyalty, I think, like loyalty. Look, now I could give gold to him again, and the other one, but I don't think I will do that. All like not for the people, the support, like 51. So and it will give you gold, and I could now get. I will just do the last thing here before ending recording. I will say, okay, let's just construction body power. We got the good gift to it. They can be there. Best. But when I save this game, I will think I will lose a month every time I save. So that's also something you have to think about. I could travel to try to see if I could get that guy. He's a really good, strong guy. Normally I do not get this many heroes in the beginning. I wait year after year to get. Like, land's not good enough, you listen to the guy. But that's an outlook. Nope. I need to. That's pretty bad too. I do not have goals. Go. Okay. 33. That's here. You must kill him if they don't like him. Okay, that's. What is going on here? I cannot get that guy. I don't think he. No, I have to say no. I cannot take him. This, well, this way. 80. But no mana. But
Okay, so that's kind of the preface for getting set up for battle. That didn't actually get us to... Okay, building up. Okay, so next one is building up even more forces. Looks like... here's the combat, maybe. Nope. It's not sharing anymore.
welcome to Bandit Kings of.
Let's see. Before I go to the combat part of it, comments?
Why was there a count in the rotation? I didn't really understand that part.
That was each prefecture. Each person was getting a turn. Prefecture 1, Prefecture 2, Prefecture 3.
Oh, okay.
That's which prefecture number was getting a turn to act. So if...
So, like,
go
if
ahead.
we did that, we could have, like, a group of 10. It would just go from, like, player 1 to 2, and then you just do index number 0, 1.
Correct. You got it. That's exactly what it was. So it's just everybody's getting a turn from 1 to 40 or whatever we have the number of prefectures was. Other questions, comments?
I don't know if it was just me, but the right side of the screen was cut off.
Close your chat. The
I fixed it.
yeah, that's why it would do that. It did that to me at first, and I realized I had to close my chat. Anything else?
Yeah, I had a quick. When we look at RPGs like this, there's usually a lot of options. You know, you get all the menus to navigate.
Yeah,
I wonder with BCI how we're gonna
be
enable that
really
kind of variety.
Yeah, we're gonna have to be now. Remember, we're gonna go through multiple phases, and we're gonna start with the minimal viable product. So there's going to be very few options at first, and over time we can add that. But the way to do it with BCI is we're going to have to do drill down menus. That whole scrolling across and all of that's much more difficult for people to control a mouse through BCI like that. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult. It's much more frustrating. I'm thinking about more of a menu-driven option, but we'll, as far as not using a mouse, but just selecting a cursor that goes up and down, and then select and up and down and select, and then of course you can always go back up.
One thing I thought of to reduce maybe inputs or menus, I know a lot of games, when you use a controller, they really incentivize you to have a weapon wheel. So like, it takes what would be 10 inputs and makes it 1 with an additional input to select. That could possibly fix that, but I don't know if you can do 2 inputs at the same time with BCI.
Right. No, that's where it gets really problematic. If you try to do more than 1 input, it gets really difficult. We're gonna try to make the initial version of this game super simple, where it is, just very, very simple options at first that doesn't take into account using a mouse. Remember, we're starting out text-based only. And so basically just think up and down arrow keys and enter. And that's pretty much our interface controls initially. Up, down, and select. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Right. We can build on that over time, but just starting out with the minimal viable product and keeping it BCI friendly, there's just up, down, and select as far as our options to do anything in the game. So whether you want to open the chat, and then it's a different story as far as typing, but whether you want to skip a turn, wait a turn, do a turn, select a thing, whatever, it's always going to be about moving up and down, the limited menu, and then selecting, and then that may drill down to the next menu and the next menu, etc. But just trying to keep the control basically just up, down, and select. Any others? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share what I hope is the Taking Turns with Combat video we'll see here.
Welcome to Bandit Kings of Ancient China. I'm Magican, and this is my 3rd installment of this game. I've made 2 others, and in the first, nearly finished, I was asked by Kesselgrand in my part 25, I think it was, yeah, I think it was 25, that I should play Li Yong at difficulty 5, that's the hardest, and that will be a big challenge. So I'm on it now. I want to do that. I do not really know that much about these 3 years. I played them a little bit, but mostly I played this one 1101. So I was just looking at him some weeks ago. I was thinking going to do this because it was 5 months since he wrote that, and I said sometimes when I have the time for it. But this guy is not a strong guy. The rest here is okay. Most these 3, but he's also okay. But this guy is pretty weak. What I remember, not that weak, not like in 30s. But let's see here. Body can reach 90, I think. Let's just this. I need to be a little bit more. I do not know how much that's, let's see the first, that's 8, somewhere around what I, 3 years to build something up. I will not use turns to look what they are.
What?
I think I'm still getting the first video.
You're not seeing Li Jun Challenge, it says part 1, but hardest level.
I mean, he's talking about his stats again.
I know. He's generating another character. Oh, you're not.
Oh, okay.
You're not seeing what I'm seeing when I skip ahead.
I don't know. I just thought that was the same thing.
Oh, I was
Okay.
sharing.
Maybe
I was sharing.
You're right. It's just making another character.
Yeah.
He's playing as a different dude right now.
It's also very loud. Is that possible to be turned down a little bit? Because I don't think I could turn down the video.
I turned it down on my end. It down in the lower left-hand corner. So I thought I was sharing this video with everybody, that when I stopped and started, everybody was seeing the same video. Are you all just seeing the link?
Yes.
Okay. So I already.
I don't think I could turn it down.
Yeah, I already turned the audio down to half.
Okay.
I will just one thing with Gaokui, they always ask for gold, and they will ask many times. So what I should do, all details are better than. $157. That's up. My area will not be good after this fight. 100 men. The highest I will get for this. And if you ask for refuse, he should not have my gold now. Okay, now he attacks. 300 men. I have to fight. But now my area will be poor. My area will not be good after this fight here. Could not give him that much gold. They would just ask for gold all the time. I need to use the gold. Let's see here. I had €2 I will use. Myself. Where did they come from? They come probably from the north. It's winter time, so let's do this. No! That's the wrong guy. Come on. Call reinforcements. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, come on. Let's see. Who do we have here? Okay, I can't even use that. Attacking side. Yeah. There we go. He's bad. I know he's bad. So, but what about the rest? He's good at wisdom, not that good at strength.
So you notice how it takes turns between attacking side and then defending side. So there's obviously some sort of initiative type option there.
And he's also bad. I remember this guy. Okay, so let's see what they're doing. Okay, they are crazy. They're just attacking. Let's see if I can't get them down a bit. 3. That's good. Okay, that was not good. Wow. Good fake. They have to pay for all that gold there, but it cost me too much. I should have. Yeah, what should I have done? I should have. The only thing I should have done is not that fireball there. And now I have to pay anyway. That was.
All right, I think you got kind of the idea there, right? You know, it's each taking turns. Now, again, maybe I need to next week just have my Amiga up here on the table and pick several player characters at once so you can see the actual turn-based I'm talking about. We've got a little bit of time. We can start the story, but questions on or comments on that so far?
The only thing I can think of is how do we, when we eventually do combat, are we wanting to do it like that hex style, or are we wanting to like
no,
just
we're
do dice rolls?
Yeah, we're not gonna remember. It's gonna be text based only. there won't be any of those kinds of graphics for phase 2. Phase 3 and stuff down the road, we can add all sorts of features, but for phase 2, no, there's no graphics. It'll just be all text-based and say, you're being attacked. You know, do you want to fight? Do you want to talk to them, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Bueller?
Hello,
Do you know where all the erasers, whiteboard erasers went?
They're on the whiteboards. So the ones that you hold
Not
up
the
here.
ones I could find. Not these two. Yeah. That's exactly. It's like, where the heck do all the erasers go?
There's one in the other office.
Okay, well,
sure.
where'd the rest go? All right, so here, everybody, you're going to quickly generate your own character. So remember, we go through different steps for each character, so you need 1 or 2 six-sided dice, depending. I will not generate a character. You will each, I'll just be helping, be the CPU for this, if you will. Thank you. Oh, careful.
Just right corner.
So, generating stats.
I'm gonna go in the other room.
To generate your skill, roll 1d6 and then add 6 to that number, and that's your skill. So all 6 of you roll 1d6 and write that down. And let's see here. Then for stamina, roll 2d6. And then add 12 to that total. And that's your total stamina. Then,
feels like not what we did last time.
Yeah, I
We had
think-
a stamina of 5.
yeah, I think last time we just rolled the 2 dice. I think I screwed up. I somehow overlooked that when I was going back and forth. So anyway, because yeah, you could have here between 13 to 24 on your stamina. Then for
Sorry, the skill was 1d6 plus 1
plus 6.
plus 6.
And then stamina is 2d6 plus 12. And then for luck, it's 1d6 plus 6.
I know I had like a notepad document of all this. I'm trying to find it.
Okay. All right, Valerie, what's your skill?
My skill is 11.
Okay, stamina,
20.
luck.
8.
Trevor, skill.
My skill is 10,
Stamina,
18,
luck.
10.
Tim,
Skill 8, stamina 22,
Gee.
luck 8.
okay. Nick,
Skill 9, stamina 17, luck 9.
okay. Luke,
I forgot what the combination was. 'Cause I was trying to find my document. I thought we
Skill.
were the old one.
skill.
No.
1d6 plus 6
1d6 plus 6
for
okay.
skill.
That's 12.
Okay. 2d6 plus 12 for stamina.
9 plus 12. That's
21.
21.
21.
Okay, and luck is 1d6 plus 6.
So that's 8 for me.
Okay, Doug,
Skills 12, stamina's 22, luck is 9.
all right. So that's everybody's starting stats. So one of the things we were going to need to decide is, how do we decide what the turn is? Do we do it like Bandit Kings, where of China, where it's just, whoever is whatever PC number. So in this case, I did reverse alphabetical order, so that would make Valerie's character number 1, Trevor number 2, Tim number 3, Nick number 4, Luke number 5, Doug number 6. How that's determined is probably just who connects in what order to the server or what have you. So that's one way. Another way is just random, right? There's random roll. The system randomly picks each person so that each turn it's a little bit different. And we're talking non-combat right now. We're just talking about who gets to go in what order of choice, making choices. Another option is based on certain stats. So you could say skill or luck or something. Whichever is the highest goes first. There'd have to be tiebreaker options, obviously. So those are a few possibilities. What do you guys think as far as what do you think would be the best option for this this proof of concept here? How do we want to decide who goes in what order? How is that decided? Valerie, if you want to walk it around to each person.
Or Tim?
I think just going in order.
Yeah, but how is that order determined?
Just
That's
who. I mean, the number that we gave our stats. So I guess maybe the number that we connected.
okay. So if you set up a server, whoever connects to the server, wouldn't that not likely then mean the person hosting the server unfairly always gets to go first?
Yeah, but if our decisions are collectively based, does it really matter?
Well, we haven't really made that. We didn't say that it was going to be like a vote system or anything like that. So we want people to work together. I'm just throwing these out. Go ahead, Valerie.
We could randomly select an order, so instead of like, oh, it's on entry, it's you randomize the order of people, but then it always goes in that order.
Okay. Okay. Keep going around conversation about this. I'm wide open on this. It's totally flexible.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have a preference in how it's handled.
Okay.
I can see benefits. You know, I mean,
Sorry, I was going around, but I don't.
I was just thinking, for us in particular, we just roll the dice and see what happens.
What do you mean?
What do you? Yeah.
I just have a D20. I just have a D20. I just roll it, give the number to whoever, and we just go in order of whoever got the numbers. That's just my idea.
So it's the previous suggestion of a randomly assigned number.
Pretty much, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Luke?
I would just write a quick little Java or C++ program, make an array, and just put all of us in it, and just have it randomly decide.
Okay, so random selection, that's another one. Okay.
Okay, Doug?
I can see advantages to it changing. It keeps you on your toes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If you know you're always sixth, you're going to rotate through on a turn, you know. If it changes round to round, it does make it more dynamic. You may get to pick twice, you know what I mean?
Well, we want to make sure you never get picked twice in the same round.
No, I mean, yeah, you could be sixth, and then the next round you could be third, and then the next round you could be second, and
Sure.
the next round you could be maybe less fair feeling, but it would keep it more dynamic, the gameplay.
Okay.
Couldn't you make an array and a second dummy array to subtract the players who've already had turns from?
Oh yeah. No, that's not a difficult. It's not a difficult programming use case at all. We're just trying to decide which use case we want to go with.
Nick?
Just assign everybody an initiative score, and it goes from highest to lowest, and it would be random.
Okay, so it sounds like most are interested in a random assignment. Am I hearing that?
You know, I like the idea of initiative too, because maybe you have a modifier that's stats based, but a large
Right.
portion of it is random.
Well, with combat, we definitely will talk about initiative, and certainly we could make it the same thing. Here's something I want you to consider, because there's the D&D style of initiative, which is very combat centric. Then there's the Doctor Who approach to initiative, which is the opposite of the D&D approach to initiative. Are you guys familiar with Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space, a role-playing game? Any of you?
No, I am not.
I'm familiar with the Seventh Doctor.
Okay, but the role-playing game. Okay, so...
I think I created a character. I don't know, because this was a training
Yes,
with RPG,
it's
so I don't
part
know
of-
if we ever actually got to the playing, but I did
Okay.
character creation.
Yeah, it is part of our level 1 training. So all game masters who are learning to, get their level 1 diploma and all that, go through this. Doctor Who is part of the training. And my books are not back on the shelf. Okay. Anyway, let's see. Get one of the other. Here we go. It's just a source book, but anyway, it looks kind of like this. Doctor Who Adventures in Time and Space by Cubicle 7. Same people make the One Ring role-playing game. What we really like about this is it is encouraging non-violent solutions first. Your initiative is determined, so it's got a couple of things. One is it's got story points that you accumulate and spend for modifiers. And it has initiative is determined by a declaration of what you want to do. So there's a normal rotation at the table. Each person declares what they want their PC to do. Based on the declaration of what they want to do, that determines their initiative in a potential combat scenario. So it could be any scenario. It doesn't have to be combat. The people who want to talk get first initiative, and the people who want to take a violent action get the end of initiative. So the more violent your selection, the later you go in the initiative for that round. The less violent your solution, the more talk-oriented, etc. Talking gets to go first initiative, running away second, threatening them third, attacking them fourth, etc. So it always gives the option for a non-violent solution every round. What do you think of that?
I think that would work really well for what our goals are for this.
I agree.
And it won't always be clear with every selection, like turn left, turn right. There isn't really a violence or non-violent selection there. So we still have to figure out some sort of method for who goes when, just in general, right? Because we still have to go around and decide who gets to pick what. Now, one of the options is a buffer approach. So if we're going to do the Doctor Who approach, we have to basically write a turn buffer. What this means is, whatever the order is, each person makes a selection. No action is taken until everybody has made their selection for that round. So there are two ways we were looking at this before. So without the Doctor Who approach, with the D&D approach, whoever's turn it is, so let's say we do the random D6 option. So Valerie, roll a D6. I can't find any dice.
I got a 3.
All right,
They're on
so...
top. They're right there on top.
All right, so you got a 3. So that means, Tim, you get to go first. So just make up a choice.
A.
Okay.
You go and break from it.
Okay. Valerie, roll another D6.
4.
Okay, and then if you happen to roll the same thing, just re-roll. 4,
Okay.
so that would be Nick. It'd be your turn. Just make up a choice.
C.
Okay. So we go through until everybody, and then, so in the no buffer approach, Tim selects A, and the whole group does A, right? Like if it's turn left, we all go left. And then in the next turn, Nick makes a choice, and we all go forward. Let's say that's C, right? So that's the non-buffer approach. And, the non-voting, non-buffer, each individual affects the whole group approach. And it's not right or wrong. It's just one possible of multiple permutations. But let's try it with the buffer approach. Valerie, go ahead and roll a D6.
3.
Okay, it's a new round. whole new round. Tim, make a choice. You're just gonna keep choosing A. Okay. All right. So you make a choice. So A is now in the buffer. No action is being taken yet. Some code can be used to evaluate whether this action is more violent or less violent, and it can be put in a certain part of the array. Okay. Roll D6, Valerie.
6.
Okay. Doug.
E.
Okay. Doug has chosen E. All right. Keep rolling and tell me who it is, the number each time, Valerie.
5.
Okay, 5. So that's Luke. What do you choose?
Infinity.
All right, Infinity. Next.
2.
2. So that's Trevor.
37.
37. Okay.
1.
Okay, Valerie, that's you.
I'm choosing Cactus.
Okay, Cactus.
Okay, 4.
And 4 is Nick.
B.
B as in Bravo.
Yes.
Okay, so
I
same
love
section
the
for 4.
options we have. It's
Yes.
nice spice of
Freeform.
life.
Yeah, okay. So all of that is now in the array. And let's say we decide that Cactus is a highly violent action by the selection. Infinity is the least violent. Right, so that gives us in our array as far as scoring. Infinity would be number 1 in initiative as far as what takes effect. Cactus would be number 6 in our array. We'll say that A is, the next less, we'll put that as number 2. We'll put 37 as number 5 because it's closer to the violence. And E, not quite as violent as the others, we'll put that as 3. And then we'll put B as 4. I don't know, whatever. So now, once that's all in the buffer, these actions then play out in order of the ranking of the violence mode, etc. So we would first play out Infinity, then we would play out option A, then we would play out option E, then we would play out option B, then option 37, and then finally Cactus. And we would see the results scroll past, once that buffer runs. I think, isn't that kind of like the Final Fantasy approach, where you kind of queue up your actions, and then it plays it out?
Yeah, there's like in a lot of Final Fantasy games, there's like a bar that like fills up with like action.
Yeah.
That totally fills up with like time
Right.
or whatever.
Exactly. So that's everybody still gets to have their own agency. They get to pick what they want to do, which I like better than the voting approach. But their selection gets evaluated. Again, it's all menu driven. We're not talking, we were making stuff up, but this will be menu driven. So the menu driven selections will have a score that will make it easy to determine what gets to go first in initiative, what goes last in initiative. You could have all 6 people pick the same thing and great, or 6 different things. And then it has to play out in that initiative order based on least violent to most violent. Now that is obviously programmatically more challenging than just a choose and play approach, but it is definitely more in line with what we like in role playing gaming. What does everybody think of that before we wrap up here? Because we gotta go.
I think it's unique. That's a new way of looking at it I haven't thought of before.
It is neither unique nor new, but I'm glad it's got you thinking differently. It is not, as far as game design goes, new or unique, but I'm glad it's.
But it's also not standard.
It's
I would
not.
say.
Yeah, it is definitely outside the norm. Why don't you go around, Valerie, get a quick feedback, and then we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Okay, Tim.
Sounds fine. Yeah, like I said, I don't really have a preference on how this is handled.
Okay.
Luke.
I like it. We'll have to see when we program it, but I do like it right now.
Yeah, and we're gonna pseudo program it when we actually go through the book. When we play it, we're gonna try to make pseudo options where we say, okay, here's the 3 different options, most violent, least violent, in between. What does your PC choose? And we'll do that on the whiteboard here and proto this out in actual play to see what works and what doesn't work before we get into the actual coding. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Next.
Doug.
I could see this working well for combat. I'm not sure how it works when you know, in terms of navigating game space where you're making most of your choices, because it seems like, you know, you can't queue through a bunch of actions if someone picks go left.
Yes,
you know? Like,
yeah, exactly. That's where we run into a certain challenge, where at that point I think it's, yeah, we do have to figure that out. We're gonna have to do that next week though, because that is the flaw with this. Is yes, it works for potential combat, but as I said before, for non-combat situation or non-risk situation, it doesn't solve our ultimate decision of who gets to decide what happens to the whole group. So let's circle back to that next week. I think we made some good progress on some foundational stuff here. Yeah, is that helpful to everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys find that useful to watch Bandit Kings?
I thought it was interesting.
Rest of you?
I
What?
think a lot of it was not super applicable
Yeah.
because of the way that we so far have it set up. The combat was interesting, but a lot of that, you know, like
Yeah, I
strat with
agree.
his different, yeah, it was kind of
That
a
was
lot of.
interesting, but a lot of the other stuff was just this guy explaining stuff.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was going to take that long to get to the actual, because I said I hadn't pre-watched the videos. I was ultimately just trying to get to that whole turn-based thing. But you did see how it was circulating, and there was time, and there was geography. I want you to take all of that into your minds, though, even though we'll have a different design. Those are all important variables to take into account. You know, time and space, right, are interwoven. We want to take both those into account in this game, and that whole turn-based thing. But yeah, anybody else?
Nick, we didn't get feedback from you about how we're feeling about our turn-based decisions.
I was gonna say that if you are doing it from most peaceful to most violent, people who are the most violent should have the option to change their mind. Because otherwise you could be halfway through negotiations and then I open fire.
And that's actually how Doctor Who is designed. Is that you can change, whoever chooses the least violent option gets to go first, and then the person who first wanted to do violence can see that, oh wait, things are going okay, I don't want to shoot him now, and can change their action to a less violent action. That is in the Doctor Who approach. It's more complex programming, but it certainly is in line with the style of gaming we want to encourage. So we'll talk more about that next week, but you're exactly right, Nick. Anybody else before we say goodbye for the week? Okay, I would encourage you guys to check out other games that are turn-based for other ideas on how to handle the logic. Look at ones like Final Fantasy and others, and kind of we'll come back next week and kind of talk about those. We still have to resolve what determines whose turn it is. We still have to work that out when it's non-combat, and none of this is locked down. It's just we're right now brainstorming. So get new ideas in your skulls, and we can talk about next week. All right. So thank you all so much. We're getting closer and closer to making this happen. Really appreciate it, everybody. So, and those of you watching on the stream, remember RPG Research is a 501c3 non-profit research human services organization studying the effects of all role-playing game formats for their potential to help improve lives around the world. And you can donate at rpgresearch.com/donate. And you can volunteer at rpgresearch.com/volunteer. These videos we stream live and free and open to everybody when they're live. The recorded ones we then make unlisted and accessible to our Patreon supporters as a thank you for your support, and then they become available to the general public a month or more after that. So you can join on Patreon at patreon.com/rpgresearch. Valerie, is there anything else you want to throw in before we go?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you so much, Valerie, and everybody else for being here. Really appreciate it. We'll see you all next week. Have a great weekend, wherever you may be. Happy gaming and Namarie.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Right.
I